Let's go to Newsmax TV political analyst Dick Morris, who joins us tonight. Dick, of course, is the author of Armageddon, How Trump Can Beat Hillary, his new bestseller, quickly climbing up all the bestseller lists. Dick, as always, we appreciate your time tonight on an expanded edition of Newsmax Prime. Your take on Donald Trump, the phenomenon of the stream of consciousness speech that he seems to so often give on the stump.
It's ridiculous. He shouldn't do it. He's got to stop it. It's nonsense. You use your speeches, if you're a presidential candidate, to land carefully considered punches against the opponent or to make important observations about policy or ideas that you're going to have. You're not a talk show host. And to go up there and talk for 25 minutes about his golf course and about his family and about each member of his family and his children and everything is absurd. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of the exposure. And he needs right now to be saying things when he's speaking, not just going up there like a genial uncle on a talk show. It was ridiculous that he did that.
And yet, so far in the Republican primary, the primaries, he confounded all the, quote, professional politicians. These displays of circumlocucious speech are not frowned upon. Apparently, the electorate is somewhat indulgent. And I understand what you're saying, Dick, and I was trying to go through it this morning and understand it. And while it is unique, I share your concern to this degree, and here's where I'm coming from. If you take a look at Donald Trump, he's been successful in real estate. His dad was successful in real estate. And while he's been a great salesman, to my knowledge, he's never had to go for a job interview. So this campaign, if you will, is a national job interview, and he does need to tighten up his responses and stay on message.
Hillary just gave a statement today that she was going to go with Sanders' free college plan, and that she had earlier criticized. What a marvelous opportunity for Trump to get up there and read what Hillary said about Sanders' free college plan and say if she thought it was unaffordable then, unobtainable then, why is it suddenly attainable now? And then go in and say, I believe the way to approach this problem is to force colleges to cut back their spending. So I propose that any college that receives federal student loan money must require all of its faculty to teach at least 9 hours a week, or at least 12 hours a week, none of the 6-hour-a-week deal. And if we do that, we can lower tuition and lower the student loan debt without encumbering the taxpayers more. What a great thing to say. What a great speech. That's what speaking is for as a presidential candidate. And instead to go on this long, familial filibuster, it also is destructive. The emotion to convey right now to the American people is outrage at the plea deal, at the implicit bargain to reappoint Loretta Lynch, at the revelation that the Democratic candidate for president has been openly and constantly lying in every single interview she's done in the last year on this email stuff, and the FBI has now proven that all of her statements were lies. That's what Trump should be saying now, not talking about his damn golf course.
And while you mentioned that, to that point, Dick, just moments ago, Attorney General Loretta Lynch said the Clinton email case will be closed with no criminal charges filed, apparently against anyone. So here's another chance for Donald Trump to pick up the message, and yet there he is with the stream of consciousness from the podium.
And Ryan announced that he's going to have a congressional investigation of the Clinton-Lynch meeting, putting them both under oath and asking what went on. And of course, lying under oath is something Bill Clinton's not a stranger to, but I think that would be a very useful thing to do. And Trump has got to exercise more discipline in what he's doing. That's the point we make in our book, Armageddon. He's got to land precision punches, not just go in there and kind of be on the podium for an hour talking about whatever comes into his head.
Right, but there is one thing about the Trump phenomenon. It has changed the tune from people like Paul Ryan. You mentioned what the speaker had to say. You referenced it. Let's hear Speaker Ryan in his own words from earlier today.
I think the DNI Clapper should deny Hillary Clinton access to classified information.
So there he is saying, look, it's got to stop. Hillary is a security risk. And you and I know that with a presidential candidate and the party in the Congress, in most campaigns, messages are coordinated. Has that, with Trump hiring a more professional staff, are we going to see coordination with the congressional Republicans?
I would think that the Republican professionals, the people not who are idiots and not who lose election after election and all of that, but the really good ones, are probably tearing their hair out right now that Trump wasted prime time tonight with this kind of garbage as opposed to addressing the issues before the country and really making them, giving them a political spin and a political twist that could really have helped his candidacy.
Now, tonight, what we heard, and we will have some of it later on, Newt Gingrich on the stump introducing Donald Trump. We both know Newt. You ran some negative ads against him back heading into '96. I was working with him as part of leadership when he was Speaker of the House. Newt is a political warrior, a policy maven, and a guy who can get to the heart of the matter. Can Newt be the guy who straightens out the Republican process here and helps Donald Trump get on message?
Well, he certainly can get on message himself if he is the VP candidate. And that's one big advantage. He can make proposals, ideas, he can criticize the other side, and he can do a lot of the missions that Trump himself ought to be doing. So I think that, yeah, it's a very good idea. I'm just worried how the relationship would work because you have two very strong-willed people there.
Well, it was interesting tonight, Dick, because we actually heard Trump joking about Newt taking him to task publicly for some of the things with which Newt did not agree. And it seems there's a good relationship there. As you know, we have an ongoing relationship with our viewers who choose to call in at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Ladies first tonight. From New York, not the city. I believe she's in East Meadow, but they're in New York State. Andrea is on the phone. Andrea, welcome to Newsmax Prime.
Thank you so much, JD. I truthfully would like to talk about something I saw online today about the Guccifer 2 released a hack about the DNC wanted to spend $800 and something thousand to disrupt the Republican National Convention. Have you heard about this?
It would not surprise me, Dick. I don't know if you've heard about it, but that's part of Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals, is it not?
Yeah, sure. That's interesting. It reminds me of a story. When I was plotting the '96 convention with Hillary, I write about this in Armageddon, we had a meeting and she warned that the Republicans would try to disrupt her Democratic convention. And she said she wanted the Secret Service to do background checks, fingerprints, photos, and social security numbers of everybody that was in the gallery at the convention every night. And the next day I went to Bill and I told him Hillary's son has this crazy idea that would be horrible. And he said, I'm not going to do that nonsense. Used a stronger word than nonsense. But it was so indicative of Hillary's desire for control and ownership without realizing the backlash that it would cause.
But you know, there's something else about that, Dick, and I call it projection. So often those on the left use certain tactics that they project onto their political opponents. They would assume, here's my thing, my takeaway from what the story you just told me, Hillary and the Democrats actively do that. That is part of their process. That's part of their agitprop. So they expect Republicans to respond in kind in that way.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. But at the moment, Hillary is backpedaling. She's on the defensive. I believe you cannot underestimate the impact of her being, in effect, convicted in the court of public opinion. Scott Rasmussen had a poll out today that he took last night, and he says that 56 to 34, the American voters think Hillary should be indicted. 63% of the independents and 25% of the Democrats answered that she should be indicted. Those are incredible numbers. And to have the FBI come out there and make an official finding that you're a total liar, that you've lied to the people so many times. I didn't receive classified information. I didn't send it. I wasn't hacked. I used just one device, and that for convenience. I've turned over all the emails. All of those are lies. The FBI has now said that they were lies. And I think that collectively they will give her a reputation for lying that is the equal of that one famous lie of her husband's about Monica.
Well, let us talk about what transpired yesterday. You mentioned the new Rasmussen poll. We should also point out that earlier today, former Attorney General Alberto Gonzales spoke out about the FBI director's press conference yesterday. And when Jim Comey said what he had to say, former General Gonzales took real issue with that, saying, whoa, wait a minute. The FBI director's job is to present evidence in the case against Hillary, not decide whether to prosecute her. Let's listen to former Attorney General Alberto Gonzales.
His job is not to make an assessment as to whether or not there should be a prosecution. His job is to present the evidence, and he can offer a recommendation or offer his opinion, but it is up to the prosecutors, either the U.S. Attorney, the head of the criminal division, and ultimately the Attorney General of the United States to decide whether or not to move forward with the prosecution. That is not the job of the FBI directors.
So General Gonzales taking issue with the whole notion that, in essence, Comey usurped the authority of the DOJ as FBI director, but you're saying 24 hours after the fact that essentially what Comey did was deliver an indictment, quote, in the courtroom of public opinion.
Yes, but I think that Gonzalez's point is a good one. The FBI director was shielding Lynch from public opinion. Had he just gotten up there and given the recitation of the facts, the first 3/4 of his speech, and eliminated the last quarter, which is prosecutorial, which is whether they could win and whether he should be indicted and about past standards. These are not the functions of the FBI. These are the functions of the lawyers of the Department of Justice. And had he simply terminated his speech then and said, I await the action of the Attorney General, then Lynch would not have been able to stand up there and take the heat by saying she's not going to indict. So Comey usurped the role of the Attorney General, and the Attorney General probably is thanking her stars that he did.
Well, let's talk about, you and I know in politics, if you're explaining, you're losing. So Hillary today goes up to Atlantic City, goes on the attack with Donald Trump's business practices. She gets out front of the Taj Mahal. I believe we have some of Hillary's comments. Here they are right now.
Donald Trump is temperamentally unfit to be president of the United States. So we can't let him roll the dice with our children's futures. We need to write a new chapter in the American dream, and it sure cannot be Chapter 11.
Now, Dick, when I hear Hillary say that Donald Trump is not temperamentally suited to be president, it's kind of one of those pot, meat, kettle moments, is it not?
Yeah, it is. You read my book and you read Burns' book about what goes on behind closed doors with the Clintons, that Bill Clinton tackled me and tried to punch me, and that Hillary told me he only does that to people he loves. And once I met with Hillary and the whole right side of her face was black and blue, Bill is, of course, a lefty. One wonders what her definition of temperamentally suited. What you just heard were a collection of sound bites that have been poll tested that she's using. But the American people are looking at it, and all they're thinking about is you lied, you lied, you lied, you lied, you lied. And if she thinks she can cover that up and change the subject, it's insulting to believe that she could do that.
With 2 minutes remaining in this portion of our program, back to the phones at 1-877-NEWSMAX to White Plains, New York, for Rich. Hi, Rich.
Hi, JD.
Hey, Rich.
Hey,
How you
Dick.
doing? Good.
I'd like to preface my comments by saying I'm a conservative and a registered Republican who voted for the Republican nominee in the last 4 election cycles. Now, selecting Newt Gingrich as a running mate could be a good thing and a bad thing. The bad thing is if Trump chooses Gingrich, you will see the sharp contrast between the smartest man in the room and the absolute dumbest man in the room. On the other hand, if Trump manages to get elected, he could do this country a great service and resign, allowing the extremely qualified Newt Gingrich the responsibility of leading this country.
That's interesting. That's almost a novel. You've given us a sketch for a great paperback. Maybe Dick and I can collaborate on a novel. But what about Gingrich's qualifications as vice president? How would that team work out, do you believe, Dick? We've got about a minute.
Well, first of all, I think that be careful when you call someone who made with his own intellect $1 billion of being stupid or the dumbest man in the room. Do not belittle Trump's enormous achievements, not the least of which was winning the Republican contest against the best the party could offer, with the field stacked against him and being heavily outspent. That was an incredible achievement, and he deserves great credit for that. I think Newt would be a very good choice, because I think that it would create almost a CEO-prime minister relationship. In other words, Trump would articulate the broad vision and the policies, and then Newt would go to work implementing them, shaping them into proposals, and shepherding them through. If they could agree on a relationship like that, it would be a very good one. Otherwise, I'm just concerned about the clash of egos and of temperaments, because they are both very assertive, strong people.
But of course, we've seen that before with any number of tickets. To be continued. Dick Morris, we thank you for your time tonight via Skype. Coming back with more of your calls and more of our program after this.